and we're ready to go. And I just wanted to again thank Ephraim for agreeing today to continue the Parsha Shir. It's good that we gave him the additional time because we're just coming off of in Chutz La'aretz, we're just coming off of Yontif, but he's been preparing very well. So without any further ado, Ephraim, teach us.
Thank you, Rabbi. So, to the best of my knowledge, you were, at least this time, even though you did way too many days of Yontif, we're on the same Parsha, so we could learn together Parshat Shemini. And famously in Parshat Shemini, we have the sin of Nadav and Avihu, who offered an offering that they weren't supposed to, or they weren't commanded specifically to. And after that, the fire comes and eats them, as the pasuk says, "Vatetze esh milifnei Hashem vatochel otam." And after that, the Torah continues and says a specific commandment of Hashem directly to Aaron. Usually, as you know, it's Vaydaber Hashem and Moshe lemor. It's usually to Moshe, but this time it's to Aaron. And there, while we're in the middle of the 8th day of the ceremony of opening up the Mishkan, we're in the middle of a very important day where many things are happening for the first time. Aaron gets this command, and one of them is to say, "Lehavdil ben hakodesh uben hachol uben hatameh uben hatahor." That the one of the kohanim's job is to separate between the kodesh and the chol, the pure and the not, or the holy, the sacred and the not, and the tameh, and the pure and the dead, and the one that is not. And then it goes back on to talk about the rest of what happens that day, on the 8th day of the Mishkan. And we only continue the story or the explanation of what is pure and what is not only later on when it comes to Perek Yud Aleph, and it talks about Ma'acharot Asurot, and it talks about what is allowed to eat and what is not. And there, the Torah describes which animals were allowed to eat, which animals were not allowed to eat. And it says at the beginning, and there's basically four different kinds of animals that the Torah describes. The first one is the animals themselves, or the bull bnei Yisrael lemor zot hachaya asher tochlu mikol habehema asher al haaretz. And so these are the different animals you're allowed to eat. And then it goes on to talk about the fish. Then it goes on to talk about the different kinds of chicken and birds. And then it goes on to talk about the different creatures that are the way the Torah describes them as sheretz, in different kinds of things that have 4 feet and they couldn't fly, and they're all kind of the sense that we basically don't need any of them besides those who have the tradition masorot of eating arbe and the different traditions about that. And each of these different categories has basically an opening line and then a closing line of how it gives the criteria of what you're allowed to eat. It has to have masis pasab, shesa. I did not check all those fancy words in English because I barely understand them in Hebrew. And the different things that the fish need to have, and the different things the birds need to have. But what's surprisingly different between the first group and the other 3 is that the first group, at the end of the description, the Torah says that mibsaram lo tochelu u'v'nivlatam lo tigalu. You can't eat from their meat, and you're not allowed to touch them after they die. Tme'im hem lachim. You become tameh if you do so. As opposed to the fish, the chickens, where there, the Torah said it's a sheretz. Sheketzu lachem. Sheketzu lachem, lo teshakzu, etc., etc. And the question is, what is the difference between these different groups? Why is it that in the animals, the Torah says that it is tameh, and therefore you're not allowed to touch them even afterwards, as opposed to the fish and birds, where there it's just a matter of it's a sheketz, and you don't become tameh afterwards. and I won't get into all the different Tuma and Tara discussions, but the point is that it's not a matter of Tameh and versus Tahor, rather it's a matter of those are shekets, and because they are shekets, they are they are not to be eaten. So there's a famous medrash that talks about how are we supposed to look at the different commandments that Hashem gave us. The Torah, the medrash says in the Sifra, it says the following: Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah omer, minayin shelo yomar adam, אי אפשי ללבוש שעטנז, אי אפשי לאכול בשר חזיר, אי אפשי לבוא לערווה. Where do we know that you shouldn't say, I can't wear shatnez, I can't eat pork, I can't do things that Hashem said not to do? אבל אפשי, I can do them. מה אעשה? ואבי שבשמיים גזר עלי כך. In other words, I can physically do it, but Hashem told me not to do so, and therefore I don't do it. And the reason I do it is because I want to mekabel alav malchut shamayim. I do this so I will follow the commandments of the Torah, to follow the commandments of Hashem, and I take upon myself ol malchut shamayim in such a way that I follow those commands, even though it doesn't mean I have to follow it in a not because I physically can do it, because Hashem told me not to. As opposed to that approach, there's a different approach by the Rashbam, where it says that the reason we don't eat the different animals is because the animals that we're not allowed to eat are not good for us. Physically, they are not good for us. The Rashbam says, "Meusim mekalkelim umechamemim et haguf, ve'af rofim uvakim omrim ken." The doctors even say not to eat them. They're just bad for you. They do bad for your body. They do bad for you, and therefore we shouldn't eat them. And God did us a favor and said, don't eat them. And then not only are you taking care of yourself, you're also taking care of the rest of, you're also following Hashem's commands, and therefore you're not eating this thing that is not allowed. Maybe it's the whole Corona thing is an example. Maybe that's why you shouldn't eat bats. They're not good for us. And if you do, look what happens. And Hashem did us a favor and said, it's also a matter of it's not allowed. And not only did you look out for yourself, you also follow the commandment of Hashem, you two for the price of one. A third approach to this is the Ramban. The Ramban says that it's not that they are physically not good for us, they're spiritually not good for us. And he gives an example, the birds, the different birds that the Torah says we should not eat are the birds that are violent and because we don't want, if you eat something that is not spiritually good for you, it will also somehow make you cruel, just as those birds are, and therefore don't eat them, as an example. So here, this is another approach where basically it's not a matter of physically not good for you, it's spiritually not good for you. So if we basically take these three approaches, approach number one is basically saying, Hashem told us not to do something, we don't do it, period. Approach number two says that those things that we're not allowed to do are because they're not good for us on the physical level, and therefore Hashem did us a favor, and we shouldn't eat them. Or on a spiritual level, like the third option by the Ramban. This also we could also find proofs, so to speak, for these examples from a pasuk in the Torah. The Torah talks about avodah zarah in Sefer Dvarim, and it says, "Velo tavi toeva al beitecha." You shouldn't bring toeva. In this case, is talking about avodah zarah into your house. Veitacherem kamon, that you would not be, you'd have to be done in a cherem. Shaket teshaktzenu v'ta'ev teta'avenu kicheremu. And basically explaining that these things are not good, are bad, they're disgusting. You should despise them. You shouldn't want to have anything to do with them. You should not. They're basically disgusting, and therefore you shouldn't want to do it. Besides the fact that also Hashem told you not to do it. That's the shekets, as opposed to the approach of tum'ah and tahara, where basically there Hashem is telling us that I want you to follow the commands. And the Rambam, at the end of the halachot of mikveh, explains that davar barur v'galui, it is clear that hatumot v'taharot gzerot hakatuven. Everything that's related to tumah and tahara it just says it in the pasuk, and then we have to do it because that's what Hashem says. And in our own minds, it's It's not something that in your own mind you'd be able to understand and follow, and therefore it's a chok. The different mitzvot are divided into categories. There are chukim, there are mishpatim, there are mitzvot, each one of them in a different level. Some things you understand, some things you can't understand, some things have an explanation, some things the Torah gives us the explanation to them, some things are just laws that make sense because it's ben adam lechavero, and if you don't have them, then you'll have a fight with your neighbors all day long, etc., etc. Therefore, this is a chok, this is something we don't understand. And Hashem wants us to have commands that we don't understand, for us to realize that there are those kind of things, and therefore it boosters our kabbalat ol malchut shamayim. It raises our different level of a connection to Hashem, and therefore it has its own benefits just from that point. Now, if we take these three approaches, or take definitely the main two of one is just because Hashem said, and one is because it's not good for us, doesn't matter if it's spiritually or physically at this point. If from that point we could also understand the end of the perek, the psukim at the end of the perek that talk about the macharot asurot, mention both of these ideas on some level. On one point it says, Al teshakzu nafshotechem b'chol asheretz hashoretz v'lo titamu bahem v'nitzmetem bam. Don't eat all these different things, and because you will become tamei. Ki ani Hashem Elokechem v'yitkadishtem v'yitem kedoshim. Because you have to be pure, you have to be kadosh, you have to be sanctified, because also Hashem is, and therefore you have to get yourself away from all these different disgusting things, because you want to be on a higher level, just like Hashem is, as much as we as human beings can. And the second approach is, Ki ani Hashem hamalet chemeret Mitzrayim lot lachem le'elohim, because I am God who took you out of Egypt to be your God. V'yitem kedoshim ki kadosh ani, and you should be kadosh because such am I, and you want to worship me because I took you out of Mitzrayim. If we understand these two approaches that way, of one understanding the different doing things because Hashem commanded versus doing things because Hashem because it makes sense, and it's also a mitzvah, but it also makes sense. So that could also explain to us in a different way the reason why in the middle of the 8th day Nadav and Avihu get this specific command. Because without getting into the various examples or various explanations of what Nadav and Avihu exactly did, because there are many different approaches of what exactly they did, what was wrong, and why they got such a terrible capital punishment. The only thing that the Torah says very clearly is that they did something asher lo tziva otam. A few psukim earlier at the end of Perek Tet, where Moshe and Aaron finished doing what they were commanded to do. Torah says, "Vatetze esh mifnei Hashem," that fire came out from within Hashem. Vatochal al hamizbeach, and it ate from the altar, from the mizbeach, et haolav, et hachalavim, vayal kol ha'am vayaronu v'yiplu al pneihem. It ate the different korbanot, and the entire nation saw it, and everybody was in awe of this great experience. And a few psukim later, Nadav and Avihu do what they thought to do. And they offered another offering in front of Hashem, like Hashem esh zara, a foreign fire, asher lo tziva, that Hashem did not command it, as opposed to asher tziva et Moshe and Aaron. And therefore, vatetze esh mifnei Hashem vatochal, the same 5 words, that the fire came out from Hashem and ate, but here it didn't eat the offering, here it ate them, here it ate Nadav and Avihu, because they didn't follow that command. So we understand that sometimes there are things that we have to do, or commandments of Hashem that we have to follow, even if we don't understand them totally, even if we don't understand the exact approach or exact what Hashem wanted for us to do at that specific command, but Hashem commanded us to do it. So even if we don't understand, or even if it's complicated for us to understand, or even if it goes against what we think is right, we still have to do it because Hashem said to do so. As opposed to what Nadav and Avihu did, that even if we take it as one of the Midrashim said, that they did it because they wanted to add love. If from so much love that they had for Hashem, they wanted to add losif ahava la'avato, to add more love to what Hashem already commanded, and to offer another offering even more than what He asked them to do. And Hashem says, no, you should not do that. You shouldn't have done that. You should have only done what I commanded. So yes, there is a point of trying to understand what Hashem commands us to do, and the Rambam famously says that he does try to doresh mitzvot, tries to learn the different explanation to each of the different mitzvot, because there's no doubt that a mitzvah that you understand is much easier to follow. It's much easier to get connected to or related to than a mitzvah that you don't understand. Why are you doing that? I have no idea. God said to do so, and I do so. It's not going to be the same way as celebrating Pesach, because I understand Hashem took us out of Egypt. We're very appreciative of that, and therefore we're celebrating Pesach because we appreciate that great miracle that Hashem did to us. And obviously, you can't compare the excitement and enthusiasm of that as opposed to not eating something that, I don't know, looks okay. What's the difference between a horse and a cow? Well, they both look like animals to me. What's the difference? Why is that allowed and that not allowed? Part of what the Kohanim part of the Kohanim's job to explain to us, and therefore it stops even in the middle of the description of that what happened on that 8th day, is to explain to us this idea, because the Kohanim are not just those who are working in the Mishkan and are servants in the Mishkan. Rather, they are those who are supposed to teach us what is right, what is wrong. They are supposed to be our spiritual leaders, and part of that spiritual leadership is also explaining to the Jewish people, even on such an important day like the beginning of the Mishkan, is that, okay, you might think that one thing is important, you think that you're even doing good, you're adding good. I only wanted to do more. I only wanted to add more to what Hashem commanded. Hashem commanded to do one thing, I did that and more. And there Hashem says, no, I wanted to do only that one. You have to understand, to do only that one, even if it doesn't follow what you specifically think is the right thing to do. And that approach goes throughout all of the mitzvot, the understanding or the importance of understanding that Hashem's commandments are there for us to follow, for us to serve Hashem, for us to follow His commands. If we understand them, it's even better. But even if we don't, we still have the great zchut of being of the Hashem, worshipers of Hashem, and hopefully we will continue to do so and be successful in that for many years to come. Shabbat Shalom, as it is getting pretty close here.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you very much, Ephraim.
Thank you. Thank you for hosting. Bye-bye.